folks, welcome back to the Frontier Western Heritage Channel. I'm Todd Kessner, and we are here at the gun range outside of Bozeman, Montana, and today we're going to test the 1862 Pocket Police. And so I've got a version here that is Colt second generation. It's got a 5.5 inch barrel, 5-shot, 36 caliber gun, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of the 1862 Police, and then we're going to do some test firing here, and it's part of our pocket pistol series, and we'll see if maybe this one has an advantage or a disadvantage over the other pistols that we've already tested. What we know most commonly today is the model 1862 Pocket Police. Colt actually advertised as the new model police pistol and brought it in production in 1861 with a run that went all the way through 1873 with about 28,000 made. Probably one of the more identifying characteristics is its 5-shot fluted cylinder. It also has a round barrel and the creeping style loading lever like you'd see on the 1860 Army. The standard barrel lengths were 4.5, 5.5, and 6.5 inches. There was a very rare variation that was produced with a 3.5 inch barrel. A few early production police models carried a Hartford barrel address, but the vast majority were marked with the New York City address that's standard on so many Colt revolvers. The Colt's new model police pistol was marketed to and adopted by several police departments in the East, and Mike Bellevue actually has a really good video on police departments that did adopt the 1862 as we know today, or the new model police pistol. Let's head back to the range and see how this thing shoots. So as I said, this particular model here is a second generation Colt, and not sure exactly the date of manufacturing, but it was the version that's often, the second generations are often considered real Colts because they were built completely on Colt specs, and a lot of folks will say that the third generations are just fancy U-birdies, and I've got a few of both, and those third generation guns that are called fancy U-birdies are really fancy. I mean, I've got some that are absolute works of art. They're just absolutely beautiful. And so, and they came with all kinds of Colt, the logo and all the stuff. So it's hard to say that they're not Colts, but they certainly were not built on the Colt standards like the second generations were. Although with this particular gun, the model itself, the 1862 Police, I've had 3 or 4 of them that I've handled, and for this the second generation supposed to have been, boy, almost as good as the first generation in quality. I have found in this gun, in this model, with like I said, about 4 of them altogether, I'm not real impressed. This gun I've had to do a lot of work with. The timing's off. The cylinder stops. One cylinder stop was so small that the bolt wouldn't even pop up into it, so I had to expand the cylinder stop. You cock it too fast, it over rotates, so you got to cock them very slowly so that the bolt will pop up and stick in the cylinder stop. Just, you know, they look great, but I'm not impressed, honestly. And I've played around with 3 of them that have all had exactly the same problems. You cock them and they just don't lock up. So I've had to do a lot of work on this gun. The timing was off. I had to take the hammer out. I had to work on that cam on the side of the hammer. Just a lot of work on this gun. So being an official Colt, at least in the 1862, from the ones that I've handled, 3 or 4 of them, not particularly pleased. And so if you guys write in and you tell me you've got a U-birdie and you love it and it always fires really well and locks up where it's supposed to, I'd like to hear that, because I'd like to have a more shootable gun than this one I'm always working on that seems to be breaking down. But we're going to make it work today. So I've got 25 grains, actually a little higher. I started out with 20 grains of 3F Olde Eynsford and in a ball, a 375 ball in this particular gun, and I had a ton of room left. I have not shot this yet. I've played with it. I've fired some caps and things like that to make sure it works, but I haven't shot it yet. And so I loaded it up. 20 grains, that ball went way deep into the chamber. So I bumped her out to 25 and I ended up at about 28 grains, and I still have a lot of room at the end of each chamber. So I'm thinking I could probably load this thing up to darn near 30 and be able to get a 375 round ball in there. But I stopped at about 28, so they're all consistent loads in there now. We're going to cap it up. I've already got it loaded. It's just a, like I said, the 3F of Olde Eynsford, the 25 grains, and then the round ball, and then I've got the end lubricated. I just haven't capped it up yet. So I'm going to cap this up, and we'll fire a round ball, and then we're going to give the conicals a try as well. Okay, got a cap misfire. See if I can get this. While that's misfired, there we go. See if I can't get that spent cap off of there. I'll try this one again. Does not want to fire. Let's try the third chamber actually. Well, that's disappointing. I don't know what I was able to fire all 5 chambers as I was testing caps, and for some reason right now I had one go off and 4 not. So I'm going to have to try a different cap and see if we can't make this thing work. Well, I went to from a CCI to a Remington cap. I think the problem is that the nipples might be a little short, so it's not going to matter which cap, but we'll give it a try and we'll see what happens. All right, that one's lower. That's an 833.1. Now I'm going to go back and try that one that two that didn't go. There we go. So what do we end up with? 867. All right. Well, we made it work. It would be. I was going to say annoying. It would be much more than annoying if you happen to pull this gun for self-protection and it went click. And it wasn't a cap jam. I didn't have any caps down between the hammer and the frame. So just an issue of being able to strike each of those caps hard enough. And there may be just too much space in there between the hammer and the nipple that it's not hitting them right every time. So not 100% sure. It's like I pounded them down the first time and then went back the second time and they wouldn't go off. I changed to the Remington. If it didn't go off, I went back a second time and it did go off. So it's not like it's pounding them out of range of the hammer throw. So I don't know, but we got 5 measurements. We got them all to go, so we've got enough to do some velocity with the round ball. So let's load her up with some conicals and try to get it to go off 5 more times, and at least we'll have a test between the round ball and the conical, and we'll compare it to the other pocket pistols that we've done so far in this pocket pistol series. Well, because I had plenty of room in the chamber with the round ball, I didn't have to reduce the powder charge to fit the conical in. So I'm going to use exactly the same amount of powder that I use for the round ball, and I could have fit a little more in with the round ball, as it turns out. But with conicals, didn't have to reduce it because there's plenty of room in there already. So I'm a little over 25 grains, and again, this is 3F Olde Eynsford, and I'm using a ear is gone bullet mold bullet that is the Colt Cartridge Works 36 caliber bullet, which is historically correct. And the handy thing with this, with really almost every one of the historically correct bullets, I've got a little heel at the bottom of this, with a smaller diameter right at the bottom of the bullet, which allows it to fit nicely down into that chamber, and it stands up pretty straight, so it makes it easy to load, and it's not going to wiggle on me. You can see it fell right down into the chamber there. So as you can see, it fell right down into the chamber where that heel is. It's relatively straight up and down. Makes this very easy then to push this in straight and have that go in without tipping off to the side. So again, it's this Johnson & Dow, or excuse me, not Johnson & Dow, but Iris-Gone bullet molds. There is a Johnson & Dow bullet. This one is a Colt Cartridge Works bullet for 36 caliber. So I'm going to go ahead and grease this thing up and and by that I mean put the lube over the front of the cylinder and then cap it, and we'll see what these Iris-Gone Colt Cartridge Works bullets do. Well, I almost took off without you. I am got the front lubed, I'm capped up, and I'm ready to go with the Colt Cartridge Works conicals from Iris-Gone bullet mold. So let's see what we got here. All right, 837.7. Shot number 3. All right, shot number 4. All right, except for the misfires and the issues that I've had with this gun, with having this second generation Colt, with all the work I had to do, and then of course the misfires and all that. If I could get past that and get this thing smoothed out, I'm telling you what, I really like this gun. I hadn't shot it yet, and we'll take this data back and check it out. The last one was 900, and still on the screen, 913 feet per second. So this thing packs a wallop. It's got a strong amount of velocity behind it, and you can feel it when you fire the gun. So when you load this chamber, any of these chambers up to the top, there's just enough room for the projectile and a little bit of compression. Boy, you got a powerful pocket pistol, and this one is 5.5 inch. There were shorter ones as well, and so you could get one a little more concealable, but just the same, a lot of firepower, 5 shots in a pocket pistol basically. So when Colt went from the 31s to the 36s, I got to say, smart move, because you were pulling out a gun that had quite a bit of oomph to it. If you were watching this and you saw I didn't have any cap problems the second time around, and that's true. I put on the caps and fired all 5. We didn't do any editing or anything. They all went off, and I'll tell you why that is. I was trying to get that fixed off camera, and I just couldn't get it to go. And so I took out the cap remover, the nipple wrench, and just backed these out about 1 turn each one. And when I backed them out, got that nipple closer to the hammer, absolutely no problems after that. So it is a short nipple issue that would cause those misfires, and not the caps or the hammer not striking hard enough or anything like that. So I've got to find a nipple that's a little bit longer. So that's not a permanent solution. I don't mean to get personal, but I don't like to shoot with loose nipples, and I don't think you should either. So we want to have these nice and tight. We don't want gas coming out the back, but today, just to get these rounds out of the chamber and out the barrel and measured, that's what I had to do. Going to have to work on getting some longer nipples on this thing so you can tighten them down. I don't have any gas leakage issues, maybe, and just don't like that, because there's a lot of inconsistencies. They can back in and out as you're shooting. The one next to it can back in and out. There's a lot of problems going to happen. So obviously that's not the purpose. The purpose is to have them nice and tight and make it work that way. So we'll work on that issue. So I'm going to go back and throw this into the formula and see where we're at. This is going to be really interesting. We got some hefty velocities for a pocket pistol. So like I said, I'm pretty impressed. We'll see what we get. So with our round ball with a weight of about 80 grains, and average velocity, when I took the 5 velocities divided by 5, it came up with 856.8 feet per second. And just as a quick reminder, you put that in the foot-pounds of energy formula, which is mass times velocity squared, divided by our constant of 450,240, I come up with a foot-pounds of energy measurement at 130.4 foot-pounds. Then when I took a look at the 126 grain conical, I noticed that the actual velocity was not all that different. It's just actually a little bit more at 866.3 feet per second. I put that in the formula and came up with 210 foot-pounds of energy. With the velocity of those two projectiles being nearly identical, with the conical actually being just a little bit faster, I went back and looked at the original data. And one thing I noticed is that the round ball had its lowest velocity at 782 feet per second and its highest at 924. So I had a lot of inconsistencies with that round ball that I did not see with the conical. The conical only had an extreme spread of 76 feet per second and was much more consistent than the round ball with 142 feet per second spread. So it could be that the more compressed powder underneath that conical bullet would have provided for more consistencies in the velocity and also for a more thorough burn of the powder, and which would then again translate into a higher velocity and greater energy. But regardless of the reason, 210 foot-pounds is the most energy we've seen in a pocket pistol throughout this whole series, and it makes the 1862 Police an impressive self-defense firearm. Well, folks, this was going to be the final test of the pocket pistol series, and so I was done. And you folks have been giving me ideas. I don't think I'm ever going to run out of ideas, because the comment section, when you comment on the channel, is giving more and more. You're asking me to do this or that, or just wondering about this or that, and I'm thinking, well, that's not a bad idea. So I am going to load up the 32 Smith & Wesson with a relatively wimpy cartridge. If you watch that video, I'm going to reload that 32 Smith & Wesson with 4F black powder and shoot that Smith & Wesson 1.5 single action, that break top Smith & Wesson with that 4F powder, and see if that makes any difference on velocity. And it's a small enough gun that could have been 4F powder. So we're going to try that next, and or somewhere down the road anyway. So stay tuned for that. As far as the 1862 Pocket Police, if you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed, also hit that subscribe button. We just have a lot of fun here, and I hope you come back. And for today, once again, just thanks for coming.
We're rolling.
We are rolling.
We're rolling.
We are rolling.
We're rolling.
We are rolling. What are you watching?
You.
No, you're not. You're watching your phone. Right. Does Skladoosh mean we're going?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's hard to talk with the guy looking at you.